So on Saturday, I was really, really happy because the front page story was about the combat fishing tournament. You know, It was 2 days late, but whatever. That's not bad for the Anchorage Daily News. It's to be 2 days behind. And they talk about, who won and all this stuff, and that's really great. And they talked about this one guy, this Necessary. He was a Private Charles Necessary from Tennessee, who had a great time. That's really cool. They talked about, all the boats that were involved. And then it turned into something else. It sure did. And it really pissed me off. And I got to be honest with you, I'm still angry. But Saturday morning when I read it, I was livid. I was red. I was actually sweating. I was so mad.
Oh yeah.
It says Thursday he had his own personal guide talking about Brent Johnson, the guy that we know who won with a 184-pounder. Saltwater Safari Company put Johnson and a boatload of others over some good fish. And Johnson, along with Todd Palin, husband of Alaska Governor Sarah Palin, got lucky. As if nobody knows who the hell Todd Palin is. We got to make sure you know he's the husband of our governor. Oh, that Todd Palin. Okay. Palin was along as a visiting celebrity when a rod bent with a strike. He picked it up and hooked a fish big enough to open a whole can of political worms for Condopolis and Montagnard. That's Bob and Keith's last name. Had Palin's catch involved anyone else, the rod might simply have been handed to another. The fish fought and landed the 146.6-pound halibut credited to a serviceman on the boat. Oh, they could have done that, sure. This sort of rod passing goes on with some regularity on the Alaska charter business. Technically, however, Alaska law says that the angler who hooks the fish is the angler who has legally caught the fish, no matter who lands it. With Palin hooked into a halibut that was obviously big, there was reportedly a fair bit of discussion aboard the boat about what to do.
Oh, my God.
Especially given the ability of the Palin clan to attract controversy. Montagnard didn't want to talk about any of this on Friday. He said the decision was made that in the best interest of everyone involved, the wise thing to do was to follow the exact letter of the law.
See, right there, you just changed it to something dark.
Let Palin land the fish and hope it got overshadowed by something bigger. As luck would have it for the organizers, it did.
Oh, okay.
Johnson's 183-pound catch, essentially all halibut over 100 pounds are spawning females, topped Palin's biggest ever catch by a good 37 pounds. Johnson's fish was weighed in front of a big crowd, while Palin's was whisked away toward a small group of dignitaries. Sarah Palin was nowhere to be seen, though she reportedly showed up in the evening for a banquet with the servicemen. Organizers were relieved Todd Palin turned out to have the punerier fish, the smaller fish. Johnson, meanwhile, was ecstatic about his catch. Okay, let me just say, you could fertilize a garden a mile wide with as much crap as within those four little paragraphs right there.
That's right.
Now, Bob, I wasn't on your boat, but I've been on your boat before. The only discussion I ever had with you was about where we're going to go catch some more fish. Right. What I think is amazing, Craig Medred, I understand his job is to write stories for the ADN. I get that. But if you're going to do that, then he should have started out with Once Upon a Time, so you knew you were reading a fairy tale when you started reading this.
Right, I mean...
The thing that got me so hot, Bob, is that this whole event was about taking military personnel that have served overseas, that have spent months in blistering heat, wiping sand out of every crevice, dodging bullets, fighting the bad guy, taking them off for a day of fishing. To even put this in there
right,
is such a disservice.
Had no place.
To those men and women that were out there having a good time. Nowhere in this article is the boat mentioned that caught the biggest fish. Nowhere is the captain, who's a rookie captain, who ended up giving an extra boat that morning because someone else backed out. Nowhere is that mentioned in here.
Right.
They decided it was more important to put... And listen, let me just tell you something.
The captain was a great story. He was a kid.
Right.
He was so excited for all the people on his boat and for everyone.
Right.
I mean, you should have seen this kid, man. It was like.
Well, let me tell you about that boat and that captain and the owners of Aurora Charters and how they came to be in the tournament. Aurora Charters had already given us a boat for the tournament, and at the last minute, the night before the tournament, we had lost one of the larger boats, and we didn't have any place to put these people. We were scrambling. And Carl Hughes from Aurora Charters came up, and he says, I have another boat. It doesn't have a charter tomorrow. I'll give it to you.
Right.
So the captain on that boat is a young man named Justin Ryan. Yep. And I don't want to call him a rookie because I don't want to insult him, but but in comparison to me, he's new. Yeah. He's been skippering for 2 seasons, so he's a rookie.
You got to start somewhere,
right? And his deckhand is a young man named John Lester. No relation to you, right. I don't think.
No.
Not that you know, anyway.
Not that I know.
That's right. And those guys went out there and they caught that huge halibut fair and square, and that Brent Johnson and that fish were not on the Legend on my boat.
Correct.
Todd Palin was.
Right.
And they're making it sound in that article like Todd Palin, like this rod was sitting in a rod holder, and like he just kind of jumped in line and grabbed this rod that one of the armed services guys could have grabbed, and that's not the case. Everybody on that boat, on my boat, was holding their fishing rods, including Todd.
Yeah.
And he caught the fish.
But the way he implies it, to me, that's terrible.
There was no discussion about handing it off or trading it off. It was, we're sport fishermen, all of us. Everybody on that boat was sport fishing. And the reason that the fish was whisked away was because we weren't going to enter it in the Derby, so there was no point in having that sitting in line.
Right.
There was a huge line.
Right. No, it was at least an hour and a half.
We did that with our fish.
Right.
Yeah, we
went right over our whole boat.
Right.
I mean, everybody knew what was going on.
Right.
We were told, if you don't catch a fish that's X amount, enter one, because we also had other prizes.
Right, the mystery weight.
Like the mystery weight.
So there were 300 fish that were weighed in approximately, and since Todd Palin's fish, it was a beauty, but since it wasn't eligible, we just took it over and hung it on the rack and took some pictures, and there were no dignitaries there, except for me.
Right.
I mean,
other than you.
I mean,
I love that there's... are we dignitaries now, Bob? I mean, is that who he's referring to?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. There were no dignitaries. There were me, you, my deckhands, the girls in the office.
Right.
But for someone who wasn't there, the casual reader, the implications and the picture that this man paints is a false picture.
Right.
It's a false picture.
Of once again, the Palins trying to usurp a system, trying to get one over. I mean, to me, it's like you've really tainted, you peed in our punch bowl.
You just ruined the whole thing.
Right.
For people who weren't there, you ruined it.
Right.
Because you did not capture it.
The real story was that the Aurora, which is owned by Aurora Charters, it was kind of a Cinderella story. They came in the 12th hour to save our bacon, to make sure that we had a place to put those soldiers, and they went out there and they fair and square won it. And I'm pretty proud of them. I'm proud of the entire charter fleet. And the real story here is that a community and a little charter association stood together to try to do something good.
Right.
And our governor came down and surprised the heck out of us.
Right.
And it was awesome. And, Todd Palin left Wasilla and drove all the way to Seward, and he was there at 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
And he spent the entire day on that boat, and those guys loved having him on there.
Absolutely.
I did too.
Sure.
And he's welcome anytime he wants
you know
to
what? And the thing is, it was just kind of an eye-opener of this is what they have to deal with 100 times larger every single minute of every single day. They can't do anything without the media trying to screw with them, and it's really unfortunate.
Another great story was the kid, the captain, the girl who had a hand pull the anchor, for God's sake.
She lost her motor. Which ran the hydraulics, so they hand pulled their anchor just so she could keep fishing.
That's right.
With the servicemen she had on her boat.
Going in.
She lost the motor on the way out.
Right.
And stayed out there and made a day of it.
Right.
And that was Heather Ronick. And that
on the jackpot.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And those are the kind of stories that should have been in the paper. Absolutely. Those are the kind of stuff, and you know what? And it's a disservice not just to the Palins, because they can deal with it. They're tough.
Sure,
they're tough.
It's what they do.
I mean, they just laugh it off and say, "Well, that's just the way it goes. That's the way the media treats us."
But he did not capture the essence of this.
But it's a disservice to their readers, man. Because you know what? There were some really great stories that just got overshadowed.
Yes.
By
a fabrication. He made it up.
Right. Just crap. And it's really unfortunate. So we're glad you came in.
Yes.
And set the record straight. You know,
Absolutely.
Shame on you, Daily News. I say shame on you.
Yeah.
You know what? Get it right. Get it right. There's a reason why you are disappearing.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're no
That's
bigger
right.
than a postcard. There's a reason why you can't even afford to put them in the orange sleeves anymore when you put them in people's homes. There's a reason why you're going to be an online paper in probably less than a year. Okay?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the only problem is with that is you have to print it out on your own printer to wrap it in the fish that you catch when you go down to Seward to catch some halibut. So anyway, I just say shame on you, Medred. You know, I normally you write fairly decent articles. You missed the boat on this one. Literally, you missed the boat. So anyway, Captain Bob, thank you.